Soon after leaving Haverford, they were ambushed by the fog. Ranulph had learned long ago that Welsh weather gave no fair warning, honoured no flags of truce, and scorned all rules of warfare. But even he was taken aback by the suddenness of the assault. Rounding a bend in the road, they found themselves riding into oblivion. The sky was blotted out, the earth disappearing under their horses' hooves, all sound muffled in this opaque, smothering mist, as blinding as wood smoke and pungent with the raw salt tang of the sea. Drawing rein, Ranulph's brother Reynald hastily called for a halt. "Mother of God, it is the devil's doing!" Ranulph had a healthy respect for Lucifer's malevolence, but he was far more familiar than Reynald with the vagaries of the Welsh climate. "It is just an early morning fog, Reynald," he said soothingly. "I can smell the brimstone on his breath," Reynald insisted. "Can hear his cackling on the wind. Listen, and you'll hear it too." Ranulph cocked his head, hearing only the slapping of waves against the rocks below them. Reynald was already shifting in the saddle, telling their men that they were turning back. Before Ranulph could protest, he discovered he had an ally in Gerald de Barry, the young clerk and scholar who joined their party after a stopover at Llawhaden Castle. Kicking his mule forward, Gerald assured Reynald that such sudden patches of fog were quite common along the coast. They'd soon be out of it, he promised, and offered to lead them, for this was a road he well knew. Pressed to by Ranulph, Reynald reluctantly agreed, and they ventured on slowly and very warily. "Now I know what it's like for your wife," Reynald grumbled, glancing over his shoulder at his brother. "Poor lass, cursed to live all her days bat-blind and helpless as a newborn babe." Ranulph's wife Rhiannon was indeed blind, but far from helpless. Ranulph took no offence, though. Reynald's tactlessness was legendary in their family. Slowing his mount, he dropped back to ride beside Reynald's young son. The boy's dark colouring had earned him his nickname Rico, for upon viewing him for the first time, Reynald had joked that he was more an Enrico than a Henry, swarthy as a Sicilian. Rico's olive skin was now a ghostly shade of grey, and Ranulph reached over to pat him reassuringly upon the arm. "Horses do not fancy going over cliffs any more than men do, and Welsh ponies are as sure-footed as mountain goats." Rico did not seem comforted. "Yes, but Whirlwind is Cornish, not Welsh." Ranulph camouflaged a smile, for the placid hackney hardly merited such a spirited name. "They breed sure-footed horses in Cornwall too, lad." To take his nephew's mind off their precarious path, he began to tell Rico of some mischief-making by his youngest son, Morgan, and soon had Rico laughing. He missed Morgan, missed his elder son, Blethyn, and his daughter Malt, above all, missed Rhiannon. But he'd agreed to accompany Reynald to the holy well of St. Non, even knowing that he'd be away for weeks, for he knew the real reason for Reynald's pilgrimage. Reynald had claimed he wanted to pray for his wife's soul, but Beatrice had been ailing for many years, hers a malady of the mind that only death had healed. Reynald's true concern was for his other son, Nicholas, who had not been blessed with Rico's robust good health. Frail and sickly, Nicholas was not likely to live long enough to succeed to his father's earldom, as evidenced by Reynald's desperate decision to seek aid from saints, not doctors. Reynald's pain was all the greater because Nicholas was his only male heir. Rico was born out of wedlock, and thus barred by church law from inheriting any of his father's estates, even though Reynald himself was bastard-born. The irony of that was lost upon Reynald, who was the least introspective of men. It was not lost upon Ranulph, who shared Reynald's tainted birth, both of them natural sons of the old King Henry. Neither of them had suffered from the stigma of illegitimacy, though. As a king's son, Reynald had been judged worthy to wed the heiress of the earldom of Cornwall, and Ranulph had long been the favourite uncle of the current king, Henry Fitz-Empress. Henry would gladly have bestowed an earldom upon him too, but Ranulph, who was half Welsh, had chosen to settle in Wales, where he'd wed his Welsh cousin and raised his family, until forced into English exile by a Welsh prince's enmity.